Now it's blue.
Good.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular scheduled November council meeting. At this time, we'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you tonight for your grace, your mercy, your unconditional love for each of us. We come tonight to deal with the county issues, my Father. Grant wisdom that we will do right by not only the public, but also by our fellow council members, that what we say and do, Father, would bring glory and honor to your name. Just forgive us where we fall short. Be with those that might be in harm's way, my Father. Build a hedge about them. And we thank you and praise you for the good things that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, if you haven't already, if you can please sign in. At this time, we've got some sets of minutes in front of us from October 12th. And the public hearing on October 12th and minutes from October 25th. If you'd please review those, please.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for public hearing for October the 12th, 2021, and the minutes for the regular meeting, October the 12th, 2021, and public hearing, final adoption for October the 25th.
All right. A motion on the floor by Burl to approve the minutes, both sets of minutes dated October 12th and the October 25th budget adoption hearing. Seconded by Anton. Further discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0. business, in your packet, you'll see the fund balances that, Jim's provided for us. The lit, as of 31 October was a 522,662.89. You can see what the projected expenses that would be 483,931.50. And Madam Auditor, do you have anything to share on this for the general fund?
On the general fund, again, you have your monthly report. The numbers are varying because this report ends on 10/31 versus some of Jim's reports that he did November the 1st, 4th, and 5th. So there's a little bit of differences in some of them. I know the 10/31 report says it's 308,000 in the red. As of earlier today, it's back down to 191,000 in the red. So, and there's some revenue pending that will be going in there over the next couple of days.
Okay.
He also, in each one of the fund reports that he gave you, he outlined, he's included the IT budget, the maintenance, and the highway funds as well. His concern is, for the 7332 fund. In the bullet point, he had requested possibly transferring $200,000 from the lit supply line item to other service and charges in order to make it to the projected target date of the 30th or a little beyond that, depending on the revenues and expenses. But that was one of his comments that he made in the paperwork to you, to consider transferring that $200,000.
Okay, and he did turn in an appropriation for that, to happen.
Yeah, that would be a transfer. And
I'm sorry, a transfer.
I think we should take action on that, so I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed in transferring $200,000 from the supplies line item 20100 and fund 7332 to the other services and charges line item 30100.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Polly. And that's from lit edit supplies 7332-20100 to lit edit 7332-3010000. You good, Madam Auditor? Okay, any further discussion on this? Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0.
On that same sheet, he also had the expenditures for insurance. There's unfortunately, the liabilities both were paid or needed to be paid. One was a July and the other bill had came in. There's also the group insurance that is going to be adding $30,000 to $36,000 each pay cycle between now and the end of the year as well. So those will continue to go up or more in the red as the year progresses, but definitely need to watch and try to see if there's anywhere to pay them from or other funds. He had sent in another letter that had said what the balances were for some of the insurance within the funds, and there's a couple of them that we need to check with. However, they're not part of the county general fund, so they're not going to help reduce the deficit that's in there.
Okay, and highway, really quick, Greg in here?
Sure, I agree with one.
No, I'm just wondering how as far as his three main funds, are we getting things,
I was able to work with DLGF and the additional appropriation requests for the 1135, the cumulative bridge fund, and 1176 highway were all approved. He still will probably need to do some transfers, or the transfers from 1176 to 1173 that is allowed. He will be presenting an additional appropriation
to you guys. This is for the local road and street fund, to carry him through with the current claims that we have for $149,000. So we rounded it off to $150,000. So he will need that to make it through, to the end of the year. And this, if you guys approve.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, it's just getting that time of the year, and so I wanted to see how the work on, getting your main three funds straight, well, you know, if everything.
I don't see any, Jim and I have worked, very diligently on these funds, and, I can guarantee you, all three of my funds will be in the black. And there is no worry for that. We think to the tune of somewhere around, you just, with the way money's come in, somewhere around 100,000 in each fund. We'd like to go into the next year a little better than that, but that's what we truly, that's really a pretty good projection to where we think we're gonna be.
Thank you.
These requests, there was projects, that the commissioners requested to be done, with the, millings, and this helps cover the milling road projects.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Sheila?
So on the extension work study fund, are we gonna take action on that soon, or we already voted on that,
We
so?
voted to close it. Jim told you in the last meeting that there is still revenue coming in. And that until he knows that the final amount has came in, he can't close it out. So I just know he's still reviewing it and working with Jennifer to try and see what is coming in, so that one can be
When's the
closed
last
out
time that you, talked with him
with Jim. And
on that issue?
just at the last meeting that he presented it.
Cause the other day, he said that there hasn't been any new revenue since that time. So pretty soon, I would imagine the trigger can be pulled on that and get that closed out and off the list. So
I'll check with the-
maybe follow up with him when he gets back, and, yeah.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely do this month, I would think.
The other ones, as he usually relates, the others that are here in the red, those are grant funds and reimbursable. They're both the probations and the health, and one of them's Jackson EMA, so those will, eventually those will zero out.
All right, any other comments? Okay, Beth, come on up, please.
You want to come up there or just?
Wherever you're most comfortable, man.
Well, I, have spoken with you all and I have, Sheila sent out, I sent out a proposed letter to Andy, to Gary Burton, and to Antoinette, our liaison, about in-kind contributions that the county could consider for CASA for 2022. Most of them don't outlay money, but would be the value to CASA and would help us increase our matching grant fund possibly. From the 7,000 that you have offered, we were offered over 21,000 for matching grant. We will not need it with these in-kind contributions, but hopefully it will help considerably toward some additional funds into the CASA fund for 2022. So I'm just asking if I can have formal approval of that and get Andy's signature, Gary's signature this evening, then I would get Judge Hammond's signature
Yes.
tomorrow.
So, and you and I had talked, gosh, it's probably been 6, 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
About this, and I think the biggest question was, some of the things for the kind, reimbursement, if you will, or whatever, we were afraid that it would duplicate services that were already, here. And so can you speak to that at all? And
Well, actually, it doesn't duplicate services that are already in place, it just gives the value of the services that are already being provided to CASA. or approximate value, and I've worked with Gary about coming up with, the amounts that would be practical, because they would be divided by the total number of departments, the per year by total number of departments, to give an idea of what the value is to CASA. Again, when I submit this to state, I've also been in communication with, the state about the grant, about the in-kind contribution, and gone back and forth with them on what might be allowable, what might not be allowable. They may do up to 15% of that 21,000. The letter shows an in-kind potential of 13,400. I don't know whether they will grant that or not, but they will take a look at it and they will see what would be allowable on their end.
Okay, and Gary, you've added this and,
Beth and I have had several conversations. Basically what we did is took, like the IT budget, we broke it down by every department to give her the same percentage that everybody else would be getting. I don't have a list in front of me, but we did that with several different things. Also, our department, through the CARES Act money, everybody else got laptops for their offices back during that time when we had to stay at home. She did not, so I have offered to get her 2 computers out of that CARES money that the commissioners still have. We'll take care of that for her. We've got an updated Windows version for her, so. And also our IT company has donated a brand new color printer on their behalf,
great,
so.
And CASA is very extremely grateful, and I have a couple of staff members who will be thrilled not to have to use their own equipment, so.
well, we appreciate the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So council, do you have any questions?
Here you go.
Anton, you had questions the last time this was,
No, I think, the commissioners and they did a good job getting it inventoried and the dollar amounts. Go for it.
We'll see what state says.
So I'll make a motion that, we authorize, President Wood to sign off on the letter so she can get it submitted.
I second
all right, motion on the floor by Anton, seconded by Nick. Call for a vote, all those in favor? 6-0.
Now, is it all right if I have you guys sign it, or should I leave it with Sheila?
No, you can, if you wanna bring it up, I'll
That'd be
sign.
great, hey Gary, you want to go ahead and sign it, then I can get it to Judge Hanlon tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
There you are.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay. New business, all right, in front of you, you've got some, requests. Well, maybe you don't, cause I think you gave me one for everybody, Sheila?
I didn't-
Okay.
4 or 5.
So this is a new one, which is not a part
Yeah,
of the
that
first
was not
batch.
part of it.
She handled these two in the school meetings. You got a jail housing request? I don't think you do.
These are all new.
The jail housing one is new. That's later.
I got it, no. Probably told me,
The ones, you're looking for the 75,000, the 55,000.
Yeah, these are final hearing, you need to conduct a hearing on them,
Yes.
do a final review.
These are the ones that were presented at the last meeting. They were advertised and
okay,
again, can be approved.
and the jail housing is not, correct?
That is,
So this is to advertise on the jail housing, and this is to take final action on everything else. Okay, so. We have 10,000 for, the sheriff's overtime from Riverboat, 1191. 75,000, Uncle Road and Street. 55,000, from local road and street. 10,000, EMS for the ambulance repair. And .12.
That's a transfer.
And the transfer of 12 cents for a loan payment. We get lots of years on that loan?
It'll be paid off in 6 years.
Okay. So I'll entertain these either being done individually or,
Quick question, Greg, that line item 23700 out of Roden Street, what was the name on that? Was that Stone or was that,
It was,
what was it?
we were going to split it.
Okay, because it has 23700 on the 55,000 one.
You have $155,000 to be approved tonight. Is that to pay the $149,000 that you're in the red now?
I'm sorry.
Or do you need an additional $150,000? These were already turned in and so this will get you out of the red. Are you still needing the other $150,000?
Yes.
Okay. I believe one of them is bituminous.
Yeah, I was thinking, because Stone was 23.5,
Yeah.
so bituminous is the 55.
Those were the two that, again, that were turned in the last time. Do those and this one, that'll pretty much use all your cash balance, so we did about 70,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So your 23.5 is stone and gravel,
okay,
and 23.7 is the bituminous hot mix.
so 55,000 for bituminous hot mix. Stone and gravel is the 75. Okay.
Was the Justice Partners grant that's on there also a part of the same group? Because
Those,
we had talked about that last time as well.
right, that'll be an additional that,
She wasn't able to make it tonight, but
okay,
So we're gonna hold off on that.
but yeah, when you get down.
was that to
it'll be-
advertise?
Yes.
That's the first step, okay.
Yes.
Because I thought that was already discussed, but
I don't see, do you have a appropriation request for that tonight?
yeah, she had one in there in the
Okay.
packet.
I didn't.
I just want to make sure we weren't skipping
No,
or missing a step.
so we can go ahead, we've got something else to advertise anyway, so.
We've got some jail housings and the other highway, which we'll lump that into. As long as that's first reading. Okay. Yeah, I guess she had a transfer last time.
This is the 60,000.
Mhm.
So you need to approve the 75,000, the 55,000, the 10,000, the 12 cents, which is a transfer. That was advertised the last time to come back for the final approval for tonight.
Okay, and we need to advertise the jail housing.
Then the jail housing for the 31,1947.
Mhm.
The 150,000 for the local road and street for both the 23,500 and the 23,700 line items. The 10,000 for the repair of the ambulance for EMS. And then the 60,000 for the Justice Partners grant for bond.
Okay,
Is that in our packet? There was 60,000.
Can't find it either.
yeah,
Right, it's at the end,
Oh, okay.
it's a separate.
okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And those last four that I read are, this is your initial meeting, and then they will go on your November the 29th or your December meeting. If they're approved tonight, then they can go on your November 29th.
Just the four, the EMS one is new. Okay.
All right,
Sheila, did you get, I didn't hear it listed off, I had one in there for
I put most in, I saw
supposed to have been
that.
advertised for this meeting.
It's in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of
I
them.
was gonna say you have the 1,001.
Okay, I just, sorry, I didn't hear, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, so, because there's a lot of papers floating around. The only four that are of issue at the moment are the ones we've already voted on to advertise. And I'm gonna, if you've opened the hearing,
I'll open the public hearing.
I'm gonna make a motion that we proceed with the following additional appropriations. Fund 1169, $55,000 to line 23700. Fund 1169 for $75,000 to line 23500. Fund 1191 for $10,000 to sheriff overtime, line 12400. And Fund 1235, $1,000 to line 37000.
You got all that, Sheila? Go here a second.
That's, that needs to be a first.
Second by Burl. Any further discussion?
I need a clarity. I'm still confused about the 60,000.
That is later in the agenda to come up to be approved tonight to advertise and come back to the public hearing at your next meeting.
Is it $60,812.49?
Nope, she has 60,000 even on her form.
Okay. Maybe the rest of it then comes up tonight.
Any public comment? Okay. Motion by Anton, second by Burl. Anything else? Call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0. Alright, move along to,
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we proceed with the transfer for 12 cents. Fund 1235 from line 36200 to 46000.
here a second?
I have second that.
Second by Nick. Further discussion? You got Anton and Nick? Call for a vote, all those in favor? And the advertisement. So, we're advertising $3,119.47 jail housing. And also $60,000 from the Justice what?
Justice Partner grant, 9154.
Okay.
$150,000 for local road and street,
Right.
and 10,000 for EMS.
All right, so the jail housings, you've got copies of those.
I don't.
They weren't in the packet, so
Thank you.
you've got the originals. There's that original. You have other originals, Road and Street one,
The local road and street,
150.
no.
The other one. Was there only the one jail housing?
Yes,
That's all.
So, all right, so, gonna make a motion that we proceed with the following advertisements for additional appropriation. From Fund 9154, $60,000. And that's, for the Justice Partners, grant. And I've got Fund 1151 EMS, 10,000 for, repair of ambulance. I've got jail housing, Fund 4906, $3,119.47 for other charges and services. And then, Fund 1169, 150,000 for a split between Stone and Bituminous. And that was an even split? Is that right, Greg?
No, we actually, Sheila and I worked on this evening just before we came in.
it'll need to be motion to divide it when they can look at numbers, Jim and Gary, and then we're gonna meet with him tomorrow.
Well, the grand total is the same,
Right.
so, okay,
That part will.
all right.
Any public comment?
And that's just a motion for advertisement.
Okay, do you have all the details? Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Polly. Further discussion? Hearing nothing else, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0. All right. Mr. Assessor,
Close the hearing.
the public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Evening. All right, folks, if you look, there's a request from the assessor. The Owen County Assessor's Office needs to replace the employees who have quit. Chris Breeden left in June, John Dunning left in, just recently. Both were essential positions, field work, verifying sales disclosures, measuring new construction, personal property, and mobile homes. They also help with the office work. Okay, so the first request, is for, to backfill an employee, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And in regular wages, there's $95,075. The two employees that's there at the present time, their annual wage would be $60,000 plus, so that leaves $34,000 plus to fund this other position. It's gonna be a new hire, so it's gonna be around $26,000, so there's sufficient funds there.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Kenny, is this a position that we didn't fund before?
A year ago, basically I had 5 positions. You've taken 3 away from me at various different times. One of them I had vacant and never did fill because I didn't want to put somebody in there just to be putting somebody in there. If there had been somebody that would help us, yeah, that was one thing. So we give that up, and I think that might have been in 20 budget.
Very early, yeah.
And then Susan left a year ago, and it was about 6 months before we filled that position. And then Chris quit in June, and you took that position away and moved Patty from the assessor's budget to reassessment. So I have 2 employees, is what I've got, and that's Patty and Kyler and me.
And so one left just recently,
Yes,
and that's the one you would like,
2 weeks ago.
and you would like to replace that individual.
Pardon?
You would like to replace that individual.
Yes.
But is there another individual you want to
I'm wanting to, no, because I would rather add the work to the Tyler contract and let Tyler do it, as opposed to hiring another person. I need, if I don't contract to Tyler, I need 2 people.
So since we're,
Which one of them was the cut when we cut others as well?
Well, they both quit, and you didn't allow me to replace
One of them, okay.
one of them.
Okay. Now this Tyler, you've got 129,000. Is there an increase that they will charge us?
The 4-year contract is up this year, so we had to enter into a new 4-year contract, 2022 through 2026 for secure reassessment. There's no choice, I mean, it has to be done, it's mandated by the state. Their bid for the new contract is $109,000 just for the reassessment. If we add the new construction, it takes it to the 129.
So about 21,000
$20,500 is,
additional dollars.
Yeah.
To that Tyler. Okay. Is it in your, do we have that in your budget?
I'm doing the math.
Okay.
you've budgeted $215,000 for contract services. And with that, 20,500, that total and the other contract services, that's $208,000. And there's $215,000 budgeted for contract services, so there's a surplus of $7,000.
Yeah, so the position that recently was empty, there really isn't any special action needed. We already have an ordinance, it's already fillable, and you just hire someone whenever you're ready. But then on the contract part, we did approve for 22, just using clean numbers, the 215 for contract services. And you're saying that the original obligation that Tyler had been normally, providing, plus your Exsoft related expenses and the Worrell expense, in addition to making sure your new construction is addressed, that total is $208,370, is what you're saying. But we budgeted 215.
Yes.
So there's really nothing we need to do there either, because he already has the adequate amount for contracts. And, that's the prerogative of his department, to manage those contracts, within the budget. So, I don't know if there's any real special action
So this
You know.
20,500 per year, that's built into the 129,470 to Tyler?
Pardon?
Tyler Technologies, you're wanting $20,500 to be added to the contract.
Correct.
The existing 129,470, does that have that amount built into it?
The one for 22, yes. It's
Okay.
got $215,000.
Okay.
Now that's for 450 building permits. And I actually think that's a little bit high, so.
Yeah, some wiggle room.
Negotiate that down a little bit.
Well, and even after you figure that up, plus the change in the employee, you're looking at, almost a $10,000 reduction overall or savings in costs for the budget for the whole department. So you'd be money ahead.
Okay.
Now, for this year, they're they'll finish picking up all the new construction for 21, for $11,500. And I don't have that in contract services, but I got that in other accounts that I can transfer to pay that amount.
When did the bids come in on that reassessment?
We've had it
Is that just very recent?
Yeah, we've had it for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I approached the commissioners about this, and they wanted me to post a job and see what kind of, what we got out of posting the job. I've got about 20 interviews, but, nobody for the field work really. It's
20 applications or 20 interviews?
20 resumes.
Okay.
And we will use them to fill the vacant position. But that's a little different than going out and measuring. Because unless the woman would want to, I wouldn't send a woman out there by herself.
Was John caught up to date when he left?
That's where probably 350 left. The 450 come from him, he gives Tyler that figure. And before he left, he said he had about 100 of them. He'd get about 10 a day. Which, I was out the place today and it took me an hour just for that one place, so, just depends.
Okay. Sheila, is there anything more we need or you need on this?
One, I know it goes back to the commissioners on Monday to sign the contract, so is the update with Tyler gonna be included in that for them to be able to sign on?
It should be, I think, well, yeah, because they fax their pads, the other one down there, so their attorney.
I was gonna say, just so we get it to Jim, and then to fund the 11,000 that you're talking about for the rest of the year, you have it, are you gonna need to do transfers?
Yes, so they'll have to transfer.
So can he bring those transfers, if they're out of the same series, can he bring those back to you at your next meeting?
If they're in the same,
They're in the same, then you're good.
and I don't know whether they are or not, I'll have to check and see.
Any other questions? All right, well, I think the commissioners can take action on the contract portion with you, and then if you wanna come back, we're gonna meet again at the end of the month.
I'll get ahold of the Tyler rep, the first thing in the morning, and see what things rolling on their end.
Thank you.
I think all we have to do is change the wording on a little bit and reprint it.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
All right, 911 dispatch.
So, we all know why I'm here today, but before I get started in that, there's some people that I wanna introduce you to, because I do have 6 of my 9 dispatchers here. They're the faceless heroes of Owen County, so, I think that you guys need to be introduced to them. So right over here, we have Sarah, she's one of our day shift dispatchers. Ethan is our newest dispatcher. Today marks a week for him. Right back here, we have Blake. She's one of our night shift dispatchers. Then we have Alan, he's day shift. Dorothy, she's also day shift. And then we have Mariah, she is night shift. Obviously, all of them can't be here because we had to have people answering the phones. So Eugene and Cora are currently at work right now, and Gavin, he is one of our day shift dispatchers. He had a previous family obligation, he wasn't able to come tonight. I do also have a couple people from the public. We have previous employee Tina. You guys will also see in the packet that I submitted, Tina also submitted a letter to you guys, the reasonings why she left and her support for the dispatch center as well. And then we also have Mr. Fine here. So he was involved a couple years ago in a swift water rescue that Tina actually is the one that took the phone call and was on the phone with him until we were able to get boats up there to help him. So during that event, Tina did receive a Lifesaver Award through IFD, which is a major accomplishment in itself, and Tina is a big loss to the dispatch center.
I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to give these guys a round of applause.
Thank you. So in your guys' packet that I did give you, you guys will see the letter of justification that I have presented to you. This is just a little bit of some background on what's going on in dispatch and what we have to come in dispatch. Because as you guys know, technology is ever evolving. This is something that we always have to be on top of within the dispatch center. And all of our dispatchers have to be peak performance with training, all of that kind of information as it's being thrown at us. So one thing that a lot of people do not know is the state of Indiana reclassified 911 telecommunicator dispatchers on July 1st of 2020 as first responders. So no, we do not physically respond to a scene, but we are the first contact for every person before they get a police officer, an ambulance, a fire truck, to their residence or whatever their situation might be. So they talk to us before they get anybody on scene to assist them. That is something that is huge for the state of Indiana. Not many states have passed that. And there is also a national standard that they are trying to get passed to nationally recognize and reclassify 911 dispatchers from office clerical to first responders, because our jobs are completely different than office clerical. I do talk a lot about training. The state of Indiana is in the process of, there is a board that is together that is being managed by the state 911 board, and this committee, I'm sorry, not a board. This committee is working on putting standards together for 911 dispatchers in the state. Currently, the only standard that is in place is that a 911 center has to be able to provide EMD, which is emergency medical dispatch pre-arrivals, or transfer those phone calls to somebody else that can provide those pre-arrivals to the people that are calling in. But when you think about some of the stuff in the state of Indiana, there is mandatory training to cut hair. So it's kind of some perspective there. But once these, because the state of Indiana is going to be passing mandatory training it's coming. There are absolutely no worries whatsoever about Owen County being up on their training and the level of service that we provide to the community. The level of service that we currently provide to the community, I feel like is top notch and we are only improving. We have had a lot of training opportunities that are slowly starting to open up. Unfortunately, we have not been able to send our people to some of these opportunities because of backfilling shifts. Mainly it comes down to shift coverage as well. So some of the classes that some people have been taking has been online. And we're gonna continue trying to get as many, continuing ed hours as we can for all of our dispatchers because it's, again, only going to continue to benefit the community itself. So, I also have some additional stats in there, because you guys know I'm a numbers person, so our numbers are in there. So, in 2020, we took just under 10,000 emergent calls, that's just 911 calls themselves, and just under 30,000 non-emergent calls. Those are typically what come through our administrative lines. And then Texty, which is the text to 911 system, is just continuing to grow as people are starting to learn that they can be anywhere in the state of Indiana and they can text 911 for help. So our numbers have increased 65% from 2019 to 2020 of people texting us to be able to, for us to get help to initiate the conversation of starting a 911 call.
Quick question, I'm just curious, what is the actual number on that? What, like, how many texts do you typically? You mentioned 65% growth, what kind of number are we talking 1,000 texts, are we talking 200?
Because it's still, it's not new in Indiana, it's been around for a long time, it's just a lot of people don't know that it's a service that is available. We're probably, I think in 2020, we were sitting at like, I think 65 incoming texts.
Okay.
Which is still a lot more than large agencies. My previous agency that I came from, it was an anomaly if you would receive a 911 text because nobody ever used it. So I'm wanting to, it's right around that 60 mark is what we received last year. Again, I don't have that specific number in front of me, but it has grown tremendously.
When I remember, maybe 4 years ago, when I sat in with your staff, we got one text.
Yeah.
8-hour period.
Yeah, there's
Now
sometimes,
it's more than that.
yeah, there's sometimes you can go, a few days, a week without receiving one, and then we might get 3 or 4 of them in a week or one day. So, it's nowhere near as common as somebody picking up the phone and dialing. Plus, we think some of that is because of the new cell phone laws that have come into place. People are not texting us accident information, so that could also be a little bit to why texting hasn't quite taken off here like it has in some areas.
So,
Yes, sir.
What's the level 1 getting now?
To what?
What does a level 1, what is
Oh,
their?
level 1. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're going to the
what
pay
is their pay
matrix.
now?
So the pay matrix, what a level 1 employee, because as you can see, I have it broken down into 2 different levels of employees. A level 1 employee is your communications officer that is hired and they receive their 5 trainings. They have to receive those 5 trainings within their first year of employment, pending a pandemic happening, because not all employees, some of our newer employees weren't able to get all 5 of their trainings because they were canceling everything, classes were full, so we weren't able to get them in. But this is level 1, the person that comes in, gets their 5 trainings, does their job and goes home. They don't Level 2 is the person, they're our communications training officer. So they're the one that is onboarding and training new employees as they come into the center. Because with that position, not only are you having to worry about the liability of yourself and you doing the job individually, but now you also have somebody that is tethered to you or you are tethered to them and you are responsible for every single action that they do as well when you are training them.
So you got 0 years in a level 1 and level 2.
Yeah.
Is it likely that within the first year, one will become a level 2?
No, it's highly unlikely. Just with our current staff, I'm not gonna say it's never going to happen because it could happen. We might get somebody in that is just, amazing, picks it up and is awesome. But they have to be an active training officer to be able to receive the level 2. So it's not like I'm gonna send my entire staff to be a CTO just to get them at level 2 so they can earn a higher pay. They actually have to be an effective trainer, produce effective trainee, like that kind of stuff. It's not just because you have the certificate, you're gonna get that money.
So you've got some different rules that you fall under, okay? And so question, you've had in the past some people transfer from other county employment and you've even advertised the fact that, now, does your years of service, is that countywide or is that specific to dispatch?
Ideally, it is specific to dispatch. That was the purpose behind writing this.
Well, this is basically has years of service, and I'm wondering if that's to dispatch or to county.
Those years of service is to dispatch.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
We probably interrupted your presentation, so
You're good.
proceed.
Okay, let me find where I was. So in 2020, we generated just under 19,000 calls for service. That averages a daily of 52 calls a day. So, that is 19,000 people that are not individual people, but 19,000 events where people are contacting us for us to be able to send somebody to them, or officers making traffic stops and we have to run B&B information for them because, we all still work as a cohesive unit, even if a phone call doesn't specifically come directly to dispatch because there are officer-initiated incidents. But we are on task to beat this number. As you guys know, again, I don't have that specific number, I didn't pull it, so I'll go on and get that question out of the way. But I was talking to Chris this morning, and that as of this morning, EMS is roughly 20-some runs shy of already meeting the number of runs that they did all year last year. So we still have almost 2 months of the year left, and November and December become busy season because that's when we have a bunch of slips, trips, and falls. Ice and snow, that stuff happens. So we're not getting slower, we are getting busier. And the sheriff can attest to that as well because their guys are busier. So we are constantly sending them all over the county, and as soon as they clear a run, we have another one for them.
So you're under your own tax levy. And how much longevity do you have in your cash balance for the affordability of such a thing?
So we give raises for, let me get.
And clearly, this is a proposal, but have you done any math on?
I have. So I can fund this with cash balance pending no major emergencies, no massive equipment breaks down, any of that kind of stuff, and then I would have to dip into my cash balance to keep equipment functioning. Out to 2025 and maybe to 2026. So, as you guys can see in my proposal, I did put in here that, what I would like to do is fund this, raise out of my cash balance, through 2023, and then ask for a portion of the new public safety tax that has been passed to pay for my one lowest employee. Also with this, if you go to the proposed matrix, I have this built out for 0 to 20 years. So this would cap out at 20 years. It is also not taking any of the longevity that the county offers. It's not taking any of the annual COLAs that you guys would offer. This is the pay scale that they would receive whenever they are hired, and then this is what dispatchers would know that they would make every year until they hit year 20 if they choose to stay 20 years. The difference from year to year is a 1.7% increase, which I feel is a good amount if I'm not taking longevity, if I'm not asking for COLA, and I already have training built into this. This is also giving, obviously, dispatchers a pay increase as well, because that's ultimately why we're here. Currently, a dispatcher starts out at $15.39 an hour. That is $31,900 a year. Our job is stressful. Our job is hard. Not everybody can do it. And we weed those people out that happen to slip through a hiring process quickly, because you just know when you're sitting with someone if they're not gonna make it. So that has been some frustration felt by my dispatchers, because we have hired people and I have let people go during their training phase because they're just not working, and I chalk that up to because we're not getting qualified applicants. And the
Okay, so-
reason we're not getting qualified applicants is because of our pay rate.
31.9 is bottom end. What's the top end? Current,
My highest paid employee, hold on.
if you've got a year.
Yep, if you give me 1 second, I can pull that up. Also, why I'm pulling this up, this proposal, the pay rates would not change on their anniversary date, because I would like to make this as easy as possible for the auditor's office. That way we're not splitting paychecks, stuff like this. Everybody's pay rate would increase on the first full pay period in January. So if I've got some people that are hired mid-year, if this is adopted and put into effect January of 21, if they have an anniversary date in June, July, August, whenever it is in 22, they won't get that pay increase until January of 23. Because I feel that if they're getting a decent pay increase at this point, they can wait for that pay increase that next year. Currently, highest paid employee now is at $34,000.
And what's the years of service?
7. With the pay scale that I have presented, I also believe that this needs to be noted as well, that it would take a dispatcher to be hired day 1 and hit their 10-year anniversary before they would make what a current starting deputy makes. 10 years is a lot of knowledge behind a console and under a headset, and we'll say it, sometimes we think we know their job a little better than they know their job sometimes after you've been sitting there for so long. But so I think that I think it's a good rate, it's a good gap between us and the deputies, so. One other thing that I wanna make comment on, the reason why, when you look at this, off of the wage study, I picked for a 1-year employee will make the median external salary point that came in on the wage study. The reason I picked median is because out of all of the counties that were involved in the wage study, there were 14 counties. Based on call volume, we came in at number 8. So we are in the median of call volume for everybody that was surveyed for the wage study.
Kathleen, I got about 3 questions.
Okay.
How do you think this matrix will make it possible that we need qualified people?
I believe it will.
Second, you're saying that COLA and longevity will not be involved in this metric.
Correct.
So this is your set aside, basically for the 911 office.
Yes.
And the third, I forgot.
Okay.
So let me, as, you asked if you could, submit this, and I didn't know if it was coming before tonight, but we've got a meeting that, we're gonna have in regard to this at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So, this gives us a lot to think about and digest between now and then.
I just want to put a plug in because I feel like they are they're the heart of our public safety. And if it wasn't for the dispatchers, then you wouldn't have, police, you wouldn't have the EMS. And it's very imperative that we get good qualified candidates, so you don't have the big turnover, and that they start out at a wage or a salary that they aren't tempted to, go somewhere else after we've paid the money to train them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or even leave the profession altogether, because even though it's stressful, we have burnout, dispatchers have PTSD, all of that stuff. Once dispatching gets its hooks in you and you realize the job that you are doing and the service that you are providing for your community, it's really hard to walk away from that. And if you guys read Tina's letter, she specifically explains that.
Sam?
I want to put my plug in for the dispatcher because I remember where they came from. I remember going back, years back, when dispatch worked over in the sheriff's office in the closet they worked out of. And as hard as this county and the council and commissioners worked to get the new EMS building put up and get the new dispatch station put in and have state-of-the-art equipment, that was a plan that we had for a lot of years and it got fulfilled. But I want to tell you something. When the call comes in, you got to have somebody who knows what's going on. They are the lifeline between us and the community. First responders, I don't care what you call them, first responders. Really, it's irrelevant because they are the heart of that phone call. And we've come so far, this county, to get a new EMS facility, to get a new dispatch center, to get state-of-the-art equipment. You need state-of-the-art employees. And you need the people, you gotta pay them. And this is an avenue, if you agree with it, this is an avenue for not just dispatchers, but for law enforcement, fire department, EMS, and the community to retain people that is gonna be here in this county for 20 years. Because I tell you, we're missing the boat on hanging on to our employees. I'm getting ready to fight the battle. Ellisville PD's got 2 openings at $51,000 to start. So I know where she's coming from, and if she has the avenue to fund this for a few years, I'm supportive, I'm behind it 100% because we all know that the budget crisis this county is in. The sacrifice and June's made, commissioners, and all the department heads, there is no money for raises. Until we get through 2022 to see where our general fund's at, where we're gonna be with stuff, it's gonna be a tough year next year. that she has the means at her disposal right now to pay her employees more money and to keep these people here and get them trained, I know if I call 911, I'm gonna feel better about it. That's my 2 cents.
Well, state-of-the-art equipment is worthless if you don't have the right people behind it.
You gotta have state-of-the-art employees,
Mm.
you gotta pay them. And somebody's 911 call is a life and death call to a lot of people. We've been sitting right here when phone calls rang and stuff and people need to go or whatever on emergencies. And I tell you, dispatchers are the hub. Communication to all of us and especially to the community. Hats off to them for what they do.
So that is my proposal. It is, if you wanna know my numbers, it's to attract qualified candidates. It's to try and pull, from our surrounding counties instead of losing our employees to surrounding counties, cause that's what's happening. And it's to retain the good employees that we have that are so dedicated to this job. I don't think everybody quite understands the dedication that occurs down in the 911 center. Because I have my night shift dispatchers, that if the night shift isn't covered because somebody is taking time off, I'm coming in and I've got 2 of them here that's like, no, you stay home, I'll pick it up. You know, you do enough stuff. You don't also need to be working overnights as well, because we know I put enough shifts in on days as well. So we are our own little family unit, we all take care of each other, but they are extremely dedicated to taking care of the citizens of Owen County.
You can't just have a warm body filling a position, just say you have somebody. You know, you need good people in there, you know.
Kathleen, you also had under the director's position, same thing, median?
Yep.
And then doing the math.
Well, it's actually less than the median, the
Okay.
starting is about, $3,500 less than the median. So
Is there,
a reason?
yeah, you know, financially, of course, supporting the employees, but,
No, it was
Just
one
a
of
different-
those that I would be at year 3 and I would be happy making
oh,
that
okay.
at year 3. If I can take a little bit in, but be able to give more to my dispatchers, then that's what I wanna do. So, that's why I started the, excuse me, the directors, that median doesn't come until year 3.
I want to thank everyone here, all the dispatchers and for your presentation. And you're shaking your head.
Yeah, Andy, you know, I'm saying, I'm 28 years experience. I'm back in the county for 8 years. I'm here, I'm loyal, I'm dedicated. I'm back because I love the community, the citizens. I've been offered 3 separate times in the last year and a half to leave for way more financial. I stay because my family and my family here. I've talked to several of you up there on that board several times over the last several years about our financial ability. Several of you, I wouldn't do your job, I couldn't do your job, you're not paid enough, everything else. I think there's a lot of people that think we're secretaries. We're not secretaries. I get worked up, guys, I do. You know, I took the Ammerman baby case call, and I worked that call, Sam. Did I work that call
Yes, sir.
nonstop? Did I not leave and give you everything that you asked of me afterward?
Yes, sir.
I gave him everything for that case. When the baby was found, we had 2 mothers that were unconsolable. I let them go home, and I went in and worked a second shift for them because they couldn't do it. The people that were blown up in the house fire, that free, I took that call that morning over the radio, and then a phone call, a person that called me and told me there's people walking down the road with skip hanging off. That was hard. One of the best dispatchers, we go through this every day. One of the best dispatchers that Sam had before left when the two gentlemen drowned in the pond up at Ramona. He couldn't do it anymore. He was one of the toughest men I knew.
Norm, go ahead. But listen, point taken, there's, I want her to give her presentation as the department head, and I just,
She was asked to bring it, and I'll be honest with you, we were expecting a vote. We were expecting a vote. And I guess personally, speaking as both a taxpayer and an employee, and I'm not trying to overstep my bounds, but I guess I'm curious why it can't be entertained. I am. She was asked to be.
because we agreed at the meeting, the last meeting, that we were going to talk these pay as a whole on the 28th. Okay.
That's all I have if we're not gonna have a decision tonight. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Did we, I was searching to look at the minutes, but did we say it definitely wasn't gonna be voted on tonight?
Madam Auditor, you wanna?
I don't know what all is in the minutes. What I do recall is that you guys talked about it, and she asked if you guys would consider it again, and you guys asked her to get a proposal put together. And that if she got it done sooner, to get it to you, and that you also then started talking about the November 29th meeting and reviewing the wage study
So,
again.
Here it is.
see what it says.
I have a question. Do you know when Indiana is going to, any idea of when they're going to have the mandated training?
The minimum training standards, like I said, it's something that's being written now. The committees have been meeting for a while. They're wanting to make sure that it involves and encompasses everything that we need to be able to have to set minimum training standards within a dispatch center, because we don't want to set something for some agencies, because there's agencies that are a lot smaller than us that will be completely unattainable for them to be able to reach. Because if you set minimum training standards and a county's not able to reach those, then you start jeopardizing their state funding. So that's a lot of the stuff that's going into what they're looking for state,
So if
the state minimums.
If we don't have any minimum right now, then our employees are already above where, they don't have to do it, but they are.
100%.
Who pays for the training?
Right now, we have a training budget, it's roughly $3,000, but the state 911 board, part of the money that they receive for the cell phone monthly fees, so much of that is allotted to training, and they will pay for basic training of some classes, but they don't necessarily pay for all of them. However, they will help pay for hosting classes and that kind of stuff, so.
The employees themselves? don't
No.
Okay.
Employees are not expected to pay for training themselves.
So if you bring in someone from the county that doesn't have any training, but you think they have potential, do you start their training right then?
Mhm.
Paid for out of your training?
The training that they first take is the training that is supplied by the state.
Okay,
So that is not, so with the employees that we've not been able to retain, that has not been money that's come out of my training budget. Because the money that will come from our training budget is the money that is going to be vested in the employees that have already proven that they are going to work and be employees to be able to send them to those above and beyond classes.
so it sounds like we're already ahead of the game. And if
Yes.
we would continue, we would be ready for, personally, I would like I know you mentioned poll people from other counties like other counties have polled from us, but it would be great if we do this, if we could keep it in county, I think.
Definitely, yeah. Obviously that is the goal, but I'm an out-of-county person. I'm not from here, so, it would be great, but, we also, with some of that, I kind of have to look at some reality sometimes too, where I'm buying for Boston, Cook, Catalent, that if I'm starting them on night shift currently right now, they're starting at $15.39 an hour. They can make 19, 20, 22 an hour there.
25.
Or 25. So
With full.
Okay, so, we got the minutes out. We'll go ahead and read, if you would.
Okay, it says, Mr. Neff asked the members to consider review of the wage study that had been done. Mr. Hess offered early next year and that they would also have their budget numbers too. Mr. Robinson feels that better wages are going to most likely to retain employees. This is across the board in all offices. Everyone agrees that the need is there. Mr. Hess feels that Mrs. Lamb should still be heard at a November, December meeting. A motion to call the work session only to review with commissioners, attorney, and elected officials to be invited was scheduled for November the 29th at 6 p.m. So that, we did decide for 6 p.m. And you done a very good job of presentation, and your employees ought to be proud of you, but you've done a good job.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
All right, you're up.
In regard to highway update, I think we just need to touch on bridges a little. Server Road Bridge was open today. We're working on Dunn Road Bridge now, starting next week. That being said, when I come to you in regard to the appropriations, I want to remind you all that when we had the flash flood, we weren't able to get any other funds from anywhere else, so we had to shoulder all that with the highway department. So we spent a ton of money trying to get the bridges, culverts, and the roads back into shape from that flood. All the community crossing roads have been completed. They were completed last week.
Greg, could you send an email or like an updated list, perhaps, or you probably already have a list that you might be able to share with us that has the community crossings projects?
Yes, Steubenville Road from Freedom Army Road, or at Freedom Army Road to Kelly Road has been done. Alden Road in its entirety and Culross Road in its entirety. I am working with the commissioners now for the 2022 community crossing list. And we have been advised that the call is out for next year's grants. We did also complete in-house a Millings Road a cold mix road project on Vestavia Road. It's a new product, we obtained from Asphalt Materials. We think that millions are gonna be hard to get because the asphalt companies, were selling them to us, or selling them to highway departments, so they were selling less asphalt. So, we're trying this product. It's costing us $2 more a ton to lay than the millions, so it's costing us $36 a ton to lay.
Have you done any roads
See how
on that?
performs.
Have you done any roads with that now?
Pardon?
Have you done any roads with it?
Yeah, we did Vestavia. The other reason we chose Vestavia is millings are very time sensitive because the product used to, mix in the, pug mill, they have to be on the ground within an hour of the time they leave. It was impossible for us to make it from the highway garage to Vestavia Road and have them through the paper in that length of time, so, this, other project that we have tried was not time sensitive. We actually made the product at the highway department, laid it in a pile 2 weeks to cure, and then we applied it to the road.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wanna thank you for your diligence when, ensuring your budget is finished up and also has a strong amount in it, by the end of the year. So we do appreciate that, Greg.
Well, again, I will thank Nick, Earl, Sheila, Jim, Gary. We have brainstormed this many times, especially earlier in the year, and we couldn't have done it without a team. So, thanks to them.
Great. Do you have anything else, sir? Sheriff?
Yeah, did, Jim?
Yeah, there's an independent contractor agreement in your, packets.
Yes. As you know, back when we did the layoffs and stuff like that, we, laid off one of our part-time cooks. And we're proposing to bring back the cook. I've only got one part-time cook, and I'm not really gung-ho about having too many inmates in my kitchen. So I want to bring back a part-time cook. We'll be paying for it. We'll be paying for it out of the commissary fund and not out of the county. Will be funding this program. That way we can utilize them as many hours as we want, even though the other part-time employee works 28 hours. We'll try to limit this guy to 28 hours too, because it would be fair for him to work more hours and the other guy not to get more hours, but it'll be at the same pay.
So essentially, under the current capacity, under part-time for cooks, you've got 28 hours a week times however many weeks.
Right.
And then you're suggesting to use commissary, which is at your discretion,
That's correct.
to do a contract for a similar amount of time,
Yeah,
supplement that.
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that way it'll give us 2 part-time cooks, there'll be somebody there every day, because, like I say, we have to feed people every day. And there's only certain group of people, or maybe somebody you can find within the inmate population that's got any cooking experience. But even with that, you have to be pretty critical about who you get out, so this will help that cause.
Yeah, and really, it's just at your discretion, there's really not any action you need to take, but that's your plan, and
That's the plan, I just wanted to present it to you, and so we can get him back in here in the next couple of days.
All right, we accept this as transparency and appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Thank you all.
All right, Chris, texted, he is out, and trying to finish up some stuff, so. Let's just keep him and his folks in your thoughts and prayers, can you, yeah. As well, he's not going to be here tonight. All right, EMA.
Well, I'm here to do a little catching up, I guess. Attorney Brian sent out an email about the ordinance for grants and how they're supposed to be handled at the county level. And I got 3 grants going on, and I was 0 for 3, out of compliance on all of them. I hadn't been to the commissioners, hadn't been you guys officially the way the ordinance says I'm supposed to do it. I had been in contact with my emergency management advisory council. I had been on the phone with the commissioners about the grants, but as far as giving the information to Sheila and then coming to the meetings, I had not done that. So I am here tonight to basically catch you guys up on my grant activity and I'll do a better job moving forward that I'm in compliance with the ordinance.
Thanks, Jack.
So I got 3 grants going on. One of them is from the Mitigation Department of Homeland Security, and it's for an update of the hazard mitigation plan.
Yep.
We had a meeting on that.
Good job. How did that finish up throughout the rest of the day?
Had a really good turnout in the afternoon, and they implemented some school safety stuff into it that the guys wanted in there, and it went very well, I think. So Heather was happy. And
What type of school safety stuff was thrown in?
we're going to be very generic in our language, but how it works with Department of Homeland Security, you need, if you have a need or what they call a gap,
It needs to be in the plan.
you have to identify that somewhere. Whenever you go do the grant application, you need to say, yeah, that's documented in this document. And this hazard mitigation plan is one of those choices that you have. So they're wanting to do some things with cameras and dispatch and like that. And they're gonna be looking for a grant for that. So this is kind of doing the groundwork to identify the gap for that grant. And this particular grant is, the total on it's like $25,943. What we will actually receive is $19,457, and the difference there between $19,457 and $25,943 is our responsibility to make up, because we have sourced this out to Christopher Burke Engineering. And we will pay for that $6,486 through our in-kind work. Suzanne Simmelman has done a lot of work with mapping, and she's been on Christopher Burke Engineering, as I have, and then we had a really good turnout the other day. The school allowed us to use their facility, we kind of like show that in-kind donation, and all the, I think we had just about 15 people in the morning session, about the same in the afternoon, and all that should take care of our portion of this grant. One of the other grants I have going on is, both of them are what they call emergency management performance grants, which means you have to reach certain thresholds and deliverables throughout the year to even qualify for these grants. And I have met those thresholds and deliverables. So the first one is for a new EMA vehicle, and that has been approved to the tune of $40,000. I don't know that we're gonna be able to find a new truck that's even available to purchase, but I have talked to one dealership in Indianapolis that Sam deals with, and they sell a lot of vehicles to the emergency agencies, and the salesman said he thought that would be sufficient. And that was the maximum for the grant, and that's what's been other EMA directors have got throughout the state. So they're in the same boat I am, they have to find a vehicle for that kind of money. But that come down, we were awarded that $40,000 grant, and the other one is my annual salary grant. So no surprises on that. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you for being compliant.
Better late than
You always do a good job, Jack, so.
Yeah, I was present for that meeting, and I appreciate, there's a lot of people that are involved in this courthouse, and a lot of times that's not necessarily a force multiplier. There's a lot of people outside the courthouse involved in that. Not that, but it's really easy to look at it from certain angles, and I appreciate, the input from everybody, not just us, create the synergy to make these things work, so, it was good stuff.
A lot of disciplines represented there and had good input from everybody, I thought, so I thought it was a productive meeting.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So, like Jack's salaries, or the health department has a couple that are every year, CASA has one, Donna's got probations. If those are done during the normal budgeting process, do they really have to come and do them as an individual? Because these are almost an automatic for every year, so if you guys are already saying, yes, they can do this, this, and this, why do they need to come individually?
I've got an answer for that. After reading the ordinance, there's specific language that says no exceptions.
You didn't do that part.
I mean, I've seen it, I just know, again, they all come before the council during the budget hearings, in August, September, and then are expected to come back earlier in the years or as they come through. If they're new grants and things, I get it, but if it's part of their normal annual budgeting process.
The problem is, IDHS wants to give us such a short timeline to complete the application process. I'm not positive that I'll be able to
You don't wanna
get
miss
on
it.
your agenda and get here, but I can certainly do it a lot quicker than I did this time, so.
Yeah, we don't wanna miss anything. That's the goal first,
Yeah.
But, quick question. I know with COVID and all this stuff, the in-person, tabletop exercises and things kind of have been on pause. Will there be one here in the near future, or what's the plan in general or the direction on those?
I'm working with Co-Alliance right now, and I just emailed them on Friday, like 3 or 4 dates for them to pick. And it will not be the LDPC annual exercise, I don't think, because that has to be what they call HC compliant.
Okay.
I don't think Country Mark will put on an HC compliant exercise. So, but the short answer to your question is, we're looking at probably a Tuesday or a Thursday in February for our next in-person tabletop exercise. So
Those are very
the planning stage.
informative exercises. I mean, it's amazing how things connect and how you can see how things interact. So keep us posted.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, then it.
So no action is going to be taken on we've taken the action on the probation department, justice grant.
So on the salary confirmations, we do have 2 things to consider. One is the normal adoption for the record. But before that, I wanted to do a clarification for the sheriff's department. It's a technical change to our structure. They had left it open because there wasn't really any reason to close it at the time, but if you remember, they had a rank of captain and detective. It was kind of a combo rank. And when they had one of their employees leave that was in that position, that just kind of stayed there. But there wasn't really a long-term intent to keep it that way. Instead, they were wanting a 4th sergeant rank. And so they have done some recent promotions, and they have reallocated their staff and the ranks to make sure that they do have 4 individuals in sergeant positions. So the council needs to make a vote to vacate the captain detective rank and essentially add an additional sergeant rank. Dollar-wise, it's actually a little bit of a savings because the rate for captain was a little higher than sergeant. So money-wise, it's to the good anyway, but it does make sure that they align their ranking system currently to how it's filled. So the rest of it are just the normal adoption for the record.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the change in rank structure and also to approve the salary ordinance confirmation summaries presented.
I get a motion.
Motion made by Nick, do I hear a second?
I will.
Second by Burl. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0. Pass these down to.
So for your December meeting, you're gonna have a salary ordinance for adoption. This is just a technicality. We already have last year's template that Jim actually prepared. We already have updated that. The only thing we need is data, which is something that Sheila and I will work on. And essentially, it's just a snapshot for December of what we feel our 22 numbers will be. We know there's always changes every month, like we've done here, but it'll be as current as we can get it for that version of the salary ordinance, and that's something that is required by the State Board of Accounts.
Thank you. Okay, department heads.
So I sent you guys an email, we received our first reimbursement from the vaccine clinic. I think you guys have seen that. So we got, first reimbursement was $48,000. That money is to go back to the health department to offset any, anything that we occurred that we had to pay for through the health department that the grant didn't cover. So, anyway, we're still looking at exactly what we can spend that money on or where we can put it. So Sheila and I are waiting on state.
Now, is that reimbursed back into a grant line or back to your cash balance?
No, it does not have to be spent as a grant, so it can go back into a cash balance.
Okay.
But there are certain things that we have to, there's still limitations on what you can do. We're waiting on that clarification.
Thank you very much.
And you said that was 48,000.
And that was our first one, so we'll be getting more.
All right.
Yeah.
And that would be directly into the health's regular general
We
fund
think so.
budget.
We don't really know yet.
Okay.
At the auditor's conference, it says that it was to go into the 1159 fund, but that's not how we read the emails she got. I think, again, it's to replace costs that had already been incurred somewhere outside of the other grant funds that she has. So I think it's gonna be optional. It would just be her and Dr. Wells and them deciding, okay, this is where we wanna replenish or recoup expenses that were paid, because there has not been a direct email or other than just that was being first looked at. Even though it came through in a state grant application format, it is not a grant. That's just what they use to filter the monies down. So she'll be receiving an email, we probably both will, just on where to put it, but it's kind of at their discretion on what to replace with it, so.
Okay, other department heads? Sure.
Sheriff's Office Administrator closed tomorrow, Wednesday, and we got to do more accounts training. We got a lot of stuff, new things are changing, so office will be closed.
Got anything else? Sir?
As most of you know, we moved the health department last week for a building issue. Structural engineer was in Friday and waiting on his official report, but the building is safe, but the exterior face is going to have to come down. The whole east side wall and the front.
Oh, wow.
Totally have to come down. It's coming away from the wall. There is no ties into the frame. I need somebody to tell me if that has been deemed a historical building over there. Hopefully it has not. but she was telling me that it had. Gentlemen, we got $230,000 in our QCAP fund, and we're probably gonna be looking at $200,000 to take this thing down and put it back up. Yep. Especially since it's a historical building now. I don't know who made these moves, I'm gonna say shame on them. We're working out of these buildings and it's killing us. Otherwise, we would have insulated it, put commercial metal on the outside, went on that road, but we can't. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about, what they officially say and then what proposals you guys have, on doing the
We
best.
will get 3 very good contractors to take a look at it, of course. Also in this conversation, the buildings, we have a highway department at the office and is full of mold. The furnace is also full of mold. That money will also have to come from QCAP to get that taken care of. We are redoing that in-house. Our maintenance guy is cutting that out and replacing it. The furnace, of course, will probably be one of the bigger expenses. Waiting on quotes to come back from that as well. So I got a feeling that our QCAP fund is gonna be zero shortly.
And that was black mold, you said?
Black mold, yes.
We're actually putting perimeter drain in to keep water away from the building, but we're doing that ourselves.
So what did you have obligated? You've got 230,000 for the rest, the next 2 months.
It's what's in the fund right now, presently.
So did you have a lot of obligated, beyond?
We have nothing.
Okay.
We just finished up with coroner's office, got that taken care of. So these 2 projects are gonna be,
The end of it.
yeah, pretty much the end of it.
You can get Jack to write another grant.
There you go. And I'm all for that. If you get somebody to do it, come up with the money. We'll take it any way we can get it.
We need it.
Was there, and you may know the fund number, is there still a little bit of money in like a future building fund or something like that?
It's very small, it's like
small?
$8,000.
Okay.
It's minute. It's about like the dome fund. I think there's 8,000 in that one as
Okay.
well.
Might help at the highway department though, I mean.
It possibly could. I'm gonna cross our fingers on the health department, with the.
Maybe that's a
historical
high
thing.
figure, but.
There's that she got $40,000.
Yeah, we can use it for that. But you see what I'm saying, being a historical building, it has to go back up in the same material that's there now, that kind of thing. And that's
I
gonna
didn't
be
think
a
it was
pretty big
that.
undertaking, taking those walls down. But the building itself is structurally sound. He also went to the basement of both buildings and probation, checked everything out, so the building itself is fine.
Thank you. Anything else?
One other thing, I'm gonna make a suggestion, and again, you guys called the meeting. I'd like to see you postpone that 29th meeting. I think that we've got the funds in 22 to talk raises, and I'm afraid that we're just going to literally upset our workforce across the board. And that's my personal opinion, but I'd like to see it canceled at this time.
Yeah, so, I've got some real concern. We're still, as of today, I think 198,000 in the red on the general fund. But I think you're aware that in order to position ourselves, with maybe a projection of a decent cash balance, we're talking 2023.
Correct. And that's why I'm making this proposal, Andy.
I just want to tell you some things on my mind as well.
Okay, sure.
What's that?
I had something to say, but I'm going to finish first.
Okay, so we know that we've got to add more to the sheriff's, to the jail project, at some point. So, my concern is, and Kathleen, you're here, so I want to just speak for me and myself only. I'm really, your folks need raises. There's absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever in my mind. Our EMS needs raises. There's no doubt in my mind on the EMS needing raises. Our sheriff's department need raises. Now, 3 years ago, we met at Sam's office and we said, Sam, where do these raises really need to go? And you helped us skin that cat, okay? That was about 3 years ago, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and we also gave some of that to the highway department at that time. They got a raise. And so, what we've gotta be really careful about is a class warfare where everybody else in the county that doesn't have their own, tax levy doesn't get anything, but the ones that have a cash balance and a cash levy do. I'm not saying it's not feasible, I'm not saying it's not doable, I'm just trying to figure out, are we in a place to really wrap our heads around all of that right now with the situation that we're in? And so it's not about whether these are deserved. Yep, I know it. All of these people that I talked about and the others I haven't talked about, or the departments that I haven't mentioned, they deserve it. We've got to figure it out. But I'll just be honest, for about the past year, my mind's been at one thing and one thing only. That's for me personally.
So the comment I'm gonna make is, I understand that you keep bringing up that 3 years ago dispatch fell under the sheriff's department and they got raises then. Do you know what that raise was?
It wasn't much.
It was a
25
quarter.
cents.
It was a quarter.
Yep.
When deputies and jailers got dollars. So to say, I am not the person that likes to use the word fair because I've always been taught life is not fair. But it's not fair. They bust their butt for this county.
No, it's not fair.
And I know that I 100% get that you understand that, and you guys heard my proposal. But it keeps going back to 3 years ago, they got a raise and it was a quarter. So they're just supposed to be happy with a quarter when everybody around them got dollars.
No,
and then
they're not supposed to be happy with it, and I will tell you that the thing is, I think that it's not only you. I've got to look at this from a county perspective. It's how, because if, Gary, are there more than one, are they the only ones that are behind here?
And yeah, I'm talking countywide, every employee is behind in our pay scale. Now, I know that we've got some citizens here that think they're overpaid. I'm gonna tell you, we've got a single mom with 2 kids working for us in the county. She's $6,000 away from poverty at the scale that we're paying her at today's rate. That's a fact. Our people make squat, and that's why we can't keep employees across the board. So we need to work on that as a county. So I'm not singling any department out. Emergency services are important. Trust me, I bet there's none of us that can go down here in the auditor's office and do her job. We can't. Her job's important. She needs to get paid for it. The people working these other offices, nobody can just walk in there and do their job. They talk about them like they're clerical. They're not just clerical jobs. Those are professional jobs. They've been trained. They learn how to do these things. So it's everyone.
And you guys pull at my heartstrings as much, there's 3 or 4 departments here that just absolutely, because I know what it's like to be at the tip of the spear. I really, really do. And I know what sacrifices you guys make. My thing is wrapping my head around all this, because while we've got some good proposals here for money, we've not got to the point where we pull up these fund lines and say, well, how much is there to work with? It'd be really easy to vote and say, yep, we'll wish it away and let's do it. Yeah, you can.
Go ahead.
But
we're done.
And maybe you wanna go into that and talk the dollars and cents to what's available. I don't know how much you're into this. I just haven't got there yet, so go ahead.
Well, my thing, and I guess coming from a business background, to me, she has worked so hard to budget in that she does have cash available. And so what are we gonna do? Are we going to, cut her off at the knees because she's done her job as a department head and that she saved enough money to cover, for that many years? It's not just a raise and that she's got enough cash balance to last 1 year. I mean, you said 2025, 2026, you've got enough? I mean, I guess I look, And
You
maybe,
said comfortably 2023.
Comfortably, 100% comfortably, 2023, 2024, 25 is when it would get close, pending nothing. No major replacements are gonna have to happen.
but I get,
Paul, if you don't care, this being one of the commissioners' department, I've talked to Kathleen about this more than once. I support what she's wanting to do. She has the funds and we've discussed it. If she wants to give her people a raise and she's got the money, I'm for that. But I've also explained to her that she's gotta make sure she's cautious and doesn't get herself in trouble 2 years down the road because this is what she has to work with. Those jobs that are 911 are extremely important to us as a county, everyone in this room. So I do support what she's wanting to do, and if she's got the funds, good for her. That's just the way I feel about it. And it's not punishing everybody else, we just gotta be smart to make sure we're working towards these other people as well.
right, and I understand what you're saying. I guess I didn't understand why you know, were wanting to take it off the table for our.
I didn't say anything about taking off the table, I think we need to take off the raise discussion for the rest of the employees in the county because the money's just not there, as we all know.
Oh, okay, I
I'm trying to eliminate a
misunderstood.
war here.
Right.
And I think we all see the writing on the wall.
Okay, so I'm confused now as well. So you recommend that we don't have a meeting on the 29th about raises?
For the general population of our county employees. She has got a separate entity here. She has her own tax base, her own levy, she's got the funds to do so. She's having trouble keeping people behind those consoles. And I know that everyone in this room, when they call that 911, they expect somebody to answer that phone.
Right.
I know I do. I got an 80-some-year-old mother-in-law that lives down in my drive, and I've told Chris many times, when I make that call, I expect you guys to be there.
Sure,
And we all feel that.
We all
Well,
feel
and sometimes, I mean, they're giving, you know, medical advice over the phone, I mean, you know, I mean, as far as, so you're not just even, I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize all the things that your dispatchers do. I mean, they think you direct the calls here and, you know, to the appropriate, but that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes you have to give them, you know.
Since I've been here, and I'm citing the good things because everything in our life is negative. In 911, we have delivered 3 babies over the phone. That is huge to be able to deliver a baby over the phone. And 2 of my dispatchers have delivered 3 babies over the phone. So, you know, we just can't say, just wait, somebody will get there. We are giving CPR instructions, we are giving medical pre-arrivals, we are giving people scene safety information. So, yeah, it's not just pick up the phone, okay, we'll get somebody to you. So it's a lot more in depth, but yeah.
Andy, and go along with what Gary's saying, and I understand where you're coming from too, because every department head, every employee needs a raise, everybody here needs to make more money. But wouldn't it benefit the county if she has money to go ahead and provide raises for her employees that we need, which we need everybody here, Greg's people, clerical staff, office staff, whatever you want to call them. Wouldn't it benefit the county to go ahead and initiate that? Let her spend her money. Then when we start talking about pay raises for everybody else, this is one of the departments you won't have to talk about.
She's off the table.
Right.
She's already off the table. So I'm thinking, you know, outside the box here, we can solve a problem right here with her cash balance, she can fund it. Then when we get into talks and negotiations about pay raises for every department, which they desperately need, this would be one department that's already took care of.
Right.
And we know that now, hey, we're gonna be able to retain some employees because they're getting more money. I think to me.
Okay, so a lot of different points of view on this. So let's put to the floor whether or not we want to hold on to this meeting, the 29th. Is there anyone that wants to make a motion not to have the meeting on the 29th?
That's a good question, Andy. The only thing is that if we don't have a meeting on the 29th, when would we take time to deal with this issue?
Well, I've, you know, made it, I think I've made clear my personal opinion, but if we wanna address this 29th thing, then my next question would be, does somebody wanna make a motion to address this?
To just the 911.
Right, I mean, I wanna be fair,
Yeah. But I do agree with, I mean, who brought it up said we could be open and it was boxed, that's very true.
I got you, Greg.
But, you know, this is a separate entity on tax base. We are not able at the present time to pay to get those qualified people. And that's really a tragedy, really, because then, on the flip side, there's a liability factor too. What if you have somebody there that, God forbid, but Andy, you're right, what do we do? Because we did announce, do we call that off and back out of it? Which I have no problem making that motion and calling that off, but I also want to know how would we address this issue, because I think you gotta start somewhere. Baby steps or whatever it is. If we didn't have her, if her funding wasn't there, Kathleen, I mean, I couldn't be trying to help you at all. We don't have it. But she has her own funding, and it's kind of a critical situation. Andy, I'm shocked. I mean, I don't know what to tell you tonight. I don't know what to make a motion.
My thing is, we either do it, I mean, we either go ahead and take action tonight, or if we wanna do the 29th, but I'm not in favor for pushing it any farther than that.
Good.
Greg, the whole point of the meeting on the 29th was to simply regroup and recalibrate on work that we put pause on earlier concerning the overhaul of our system. So it wasn't a meeting intended to dole out raises. The intent was to bring everybody back up to speed as to what the findings of the report were, the median and basically the amounts, those three different levels that the consultant had put together, which Kathleen referenced in her plan, but for all departments. And then identify what directions the council wants to take in the long run, whether that be a couple of steps up front for the start of the new year, whether it's some additional activity later in the year after some new money has come in, et cetera, et cetera. So I still think that that kind of discussion or that kind of reset needs to occur sooner rather than later. So if we don't do it on the 29th, I do think we need to get it done before the end of the year, just to make sure people are on the same page. Again, we may not be able to fund anything at the moment, but we can at least have some kind of a roadmap down that we could follow that's fair and objective system-wide.
I just have, I mean, again, it's your meeting. I just don't want a bunch of people to be upset because they're gonna tell the same thing that they've already heard.
Right.
Well, and that's a concern, you know, like tonight, there was an expectation and, you know, it kinda hurt. And so that's true, we don't want that.
I'm trying to keep employees.
All right, listen, I'm gonna get order here.
Thank you.
Let me make a motion. You don't have to second it or nothing. I make a motion that if she thinks that she can handle that through 23 up to 25 with her money, I think we ought to vote for it. And I think we ought to cancel the November the 29th meeting. I'll make it in the same motion, because I'm afraid all that will do is open up a can of worms, period. Right now, because we don't have the money. The bottom line, we don't have the money to give anybody any raises, so there's no sense in talking about it. I mean, if you want to go through that wage study on our next regular meeting, and if anybody's got any question on it, we can tell them, but I think we need to tell them right up front that we don't have the money to raise them. So, that's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Burl. Now, your motion is
Go ahead with Kathleen's.
Okay, but what's the money, what's the amount?
Order. No.
I'm gonna punch you in the mouth.
I'm curious, I mean, we've gotta figure out how to fund this,
Well,
so.
the motion's not been seconded, so I think that needs to.
Okay, well, I'm asking for it in the, I'd like to have an amount in the
There needs to
motion.
be a second to discuss it.
Because, let me dig everything back.
Okay, let me get back to, do I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay,
And that is, okay, so what, the motion, to make sure that the motion is to go ahead with,
Her proposal,
right, and to cancel the 29th meeting.
right.
Right, I second.
Don't we need to fit yourself?
Yeah, so my concern with this, I've got a lot of concerns with this. So,
how do we know
But
it's
she-
not?
but that part-
listen, guys, I gotta take it one at a time. So I heard Amy first, then I think I heard you second, and I think I heard you third. Let's, Amy, go ahead.
No, that's why I was asking about the training and all of the cost of that, because, and when that was going to be mandated, because if it's in the very near future that it's mandated, do we have enough money to do all of the training that we have to do?
Because we currently do the training now.
That's why I asked, that's what,
Yeah, everything that they're pushing out to propose, we currently train to now.
and I don't know what the
So it
budget
would
training
not,
amount was, and how much it will go up, I mean,
training budget would stay the same, because once you receive that certification, you have that certification. It doesn't cost, we have to,
it's
they
a renewal.
recertify every
Recert,
2
yeah.
years. Yeah, they recert every 2 years, but it's nowhere near the amount of the cost that it is for the initial class.
And how many are you talking that you would need to, how many more
People would be trained, or how many?
No, to hire.
To hire? Well, because I have set staffing for 10, I currently have 9, I am 1 short now, I have 1, her last day is Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
So I have 1 that I'm waiting to get background clearance from the sheriff's department on to offer her the job to fill either my vacant spot or the one for my person leaving in November.
So 2,
So I will, if this girl doesn't clear background, first of December, I'll still be 1 short.
Okay, so Polly,
Oh, I was just gonna, address Amy's on the numbers. I mean, and I don't know if I misunderstood what you were asking though. Were you, I mean, you were saying, do we have the numbers? And I said that she, had, you know, that's with those raises included on the people that she has now, she would still be able to fund it out of her cash balance. At least 2023 and more like 2024, 2025, right?
Yeah. So base pay, level 0 employee off of what they currently make now, which base pay is $15.39, it would take it to, after you round, $16.80 an hour, so that's $1.40 increase. $1.41.
I ask a simple question, what's it gonna reduce your budget per year? Based on the number of employees?
That's another, a different thing. Here it is.
do you want me just to plug it in and, I mean, I can try to figure it.
Greg, I still got you.
Yeah, let me see if I can add this up here.
All right, I want to give Greg a chance to speak.
The only thing that I wanted to say in regard to the wage study, you know, look, ladies and gentlemen, we've been in this budget crunch all year, and we've been asked to squeeze and scrimp, and, you know, the departments that have to work out of their own revenues, we have to be in the black at the end of the year. And we've managed to do that at the highway department. But what I'm getting at is I've already told my people, I'm not asking for any raises. I didn't ask for any at the time of the budget. I think we're just opening a wound if we discuss it. I know it's just discuss and reset where we're at, but I think the employees understand where we're at right now. I don't know that we need to tell them again.
I don't even,
I stood before this board in 2019, and asked you to give my department a raise. In fact, Nick was the one that made the motion finally after being in here all night. And my men and women at the time got a 7% raise, which made some of them get from 95 to about $1.05 an hour, I think, at the time in 19. I didn't intend to speak at all this evening in regard to this. I have talked to Kathleen about it, and I wanted her to know that I didn't oppose it because I had done the same thing. I had to fight for my own people. I'm sorry, whether it's the commissioners or the elected officials' jobs to fight for their own department. It's their issue to come before you and ask for raises for their employees. So, if she's got it, quite frankly, I had to do the same thing to keep my employees at the time, so, and the board was able to grant that. But, I won't be in front of you because I don't have it. In fact, the raises worked for me, but you gave me 2 extra employees at the time, and, I don't have those people now. I had to say my plan didn't work, so, you know, if her plan doesn't work, then as Grandma Scott said, we can calf over. And I guess that would come in 23 or 25, because we had to see that at the highway department. But our raises were.
So cost, if we, and I just did simple math, if we took the current base rate and went up to 16.8 per hour, then that with FICA perf would be a cost of $36,027.
But that's keeping the current county's longevity scale, the COLA, the training scale, and that's not.
That was just simple math based on this difference you gave me, but since the structure is entirely different, you'd have to figure it for us.
My math that I did, based off of what was approved for 2022, the numbers that I got, and then the numbers for this, including FICA perf, holiday wages, regular wages, it's increasing my budget by $79,500.
So, back to the quarter raise thing, okay? That was across the board, okay? And it was a week raise, not week,
Right.
right? Wasn't a good raise, how about that? You just told me a few minutes ago that I asked about the scale, and you had the 7-year is currently at 34,000, okay? That's not enough, okay? But that individual would go at level 2 to $41,000 a year per your proposed matrix. Now, again, 34, I don't believe that's good enough. But if we're talking a $7,000 a year raise, okay? Again, I really would like to look and sit down and digest some things, because you're talking $7,000 for one of your employees. And Do they deserve more? Yes. I'm not prepared though for that kind of a pay raise. Yeah, you understand where I'm going?
I understand what you're saying. But if you look at the 1539 and the 7 years that they've been here, Gary, you spit the math out at me, that was only.
$428 a year.
Yeah, it's only $428 a year. So for somebody to be here.
$428 a year, per year in
It
raise.
took them 7 years. to get
Okay, well,
3,000.
I'm telling you, who else do we do that for?
Well, I'm just saying that that's what that individual.
Oh, right, but my thing is, who else do we do that for? Not that you guys aren't worth it, I'm just saying, should it be, scaled to a more even, point? And that's what I'm hung up on.
Well, the main thing is.
It's not about whether to do it or not. I'm hung up on, I guess I need more time to digest these figures, so. But we have a motion. Go ahead. I'll give you a second.
Okay, so, I understand that $7,000 in the year is a lot to digest and a big bump for someone. You also have to consider how long that they've been here. And the wage study that we received stated that median income for a starting employee would be whatever the first number was. So just only basing that off of the beginning point of the wage study, and then removing longevity, removing COLA, removing the 55 cents for 5 trainings that the county gives, it's a 1.7% increase every year. That just equals what that person, if they started at that rate, what they should be making at 7 years, based on what the wage study gave us.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor by Burl.
I have some comments.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I have nothing against dispatchers. That's okay. But I have a lot of concerns with this particular proposal because it is a very robust offer. And you did a fantastic job, I'll say that. But the whole point of why we invested and did all that work for the compensation study, as well as an overhaul of all of the job descriptions and classifications for those in analysis, was so that when we completed that, we could do a fair and objective approach to everybody system-wide. And that's using the same data that you used, and that's looking at some kind of a plan to do that. But we're essentially jumping ahead and picking one department, and we're going the full amount. There is no phase in, it's just, here you go, jump up to this level. So if you want to do the same thing for everybody else, even if that might be a year from now, then you're looking at a huge bite there on that end, which would be significant. And I think that we as a council need to look at the broader picture and think about everybody in our system before we pick and choose. We also didn't give everybody else an opportunity to make a proposal tonight. And so, someone, and I know Greg mentioned what he mentioned, but we have some other departments that have access to their own funds as well. They've not had the opportunity to come to us. Now, they probably will come to us then next month. But at the moment, they didn't have that opportunity. And the ones that are in the general fund that don't have the luxury of having their own kind of funding, they're kind of left to hang. So nothing against dispatchers. I'm not in favor of this motion. Other than I am in favor of delaying the meeting, because I think Gary's on par with that it's just gonna create more confusion and
We can get to that.
Yeah. But, so that part I don't mind, but the other thing too is are we gonna just separate this out then from our system and they're just gonna have their own thing, and so they're gonna have to communicate with the auditor and figure out what to do. It just makes it difficult from an implementation standpoint as well. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Are there any other council comments?
I just have one more. So you're essentially saying that, because Kathleen is championing her, employees and coming to fight for them, that because, any department head has the same opportunity, she's just doing her job. And
She is
she's
doing her
looking-
job,
she's
and I
looking out
commend her for
her
that.
employees.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. But if that's the case, then everybody should have the same level playing field to make their case, and we should be in a position to be able to act and implement for everybody, and not just one department. So,
But this also isn't the first time I've asked, so, and it's been in public meetings every time, so everybody, and I have told in budget hearings and everything, I will be back, I will be asking for meetings, so to me, that's opening the door for other department heads to come fight for their employees. If they can figure out how to financially do it then show up and do it, and I'm sorry, I know that's might rub some people wrong, but then show up and do it. That's just how I kind of feel about it.
Okay,
I commend you, I really do, Kathleen. And I agree with you, and it's hard to get your head around this. And if we do something tonight, how do we back out of it if we haven't sharpened our pencils and made sure this is right? Because we do have, how many county employees? I've had texts sent to me, and these people are wondering, what are you guys doing? Are you gonna give somebody favoritism? Are you gonna go across the board? You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that? But I know if we're gonna do something, we're not gonna get quality help. And I reckon the last time you said, you were 13, 8 out of 15. My heart goes out. I just wish I had some time to digest this a little more.
okay, is there anything else from this council? I'm gonna go ahead and call for a vote. And that's Burl, made the motion and Polly seconded.
You wanna restate that, since it's been so
Oh,
long?
yeah, so,
Got all the
I'll
discussion.
restate the motion. And Burl said that to go with the proposed, pay scale, for dispatch, and also to, get rid of the meeting coming up. For the 29th. Okay. So I'm gonna call for a vote. All those in favor? 3 or 2?
I'm not in favor.
Okay, with all those against? 4? Is there any more motions?
I'm gonna go and make a motion that we cancel the meeting on the 29th.
Do I hear a second? Seconded by Amy. Further discussion?
Then how are we gonna deal? This is a crisis, I really believe it is. I believe we cannot allow it to go. But I do, and I thought if we don't adopt anything tonight, and we do go to that 29th meeting, but then again, okay.
Yeah, so,
It's almost a cheap
the thing is, I get it, that's where your vote is, Nick, and all. I've got,
Was there a second to the motion?
yeah.
I did.
Oh, you did, okay, just making sure we're good.
Yeah, like I said, I really think that this is comprehensive, and I really do think that, I'm gonna need some more time. But if you want to, absolutely, I understand that, and I think that the discussion needs to happen. Mine is more about when. So, I have a motion on the floor by Anton, seconded by Amy. Is there further discussion?
And state the motion again.
To not hold the meeting on the 29th.
Was that cut out from from Burl's?
No, it was part of the motion for Burl's,
Oh, okay.
and it didn't pass.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Guess we could have done an amendment.
Yeah, or he could have withdrawn or whatever, but, okay, so I'll call, is there anything else on this matter? I'll call for a vote, all those in favor? 6-0. Lot of really good discussion tonight, very impassioned discussion, very warranted discussion, and Kathleen, you put your heart and soul into it, and I appreciate it. Yeah, hey, well, man, God bless you. Here we go. I got you too. I do really want to finish up with elected officials and department heads. We stopped, is there any, I think we stopped with Gary. So is there anybody else I didn't hit? Former department heads? Okay, then I'm going to move on to public comment. Go ahead.
I listened to a lot of these meetings and things, and understand where we're at, what's going on. But I think that the thing that I want to bring up tonight is not a Cassandra symptom, you know, but I think that the things that I'm reading and the things that I look at shows 5.6% inflation rate at the moment. And then what's projected from all the things of my sources, it looks like it's going to be around about 11% to 12% inflation rate by around the middle of next year. And of course, the reason for this is the things that you watch on TV, you know, the $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, and supply. There's a lot of reasons for it, especially from the business standpoint on taxes. The point being is this: you all talk about getting a $1.46 or $2.29, which is $400 a year. I tell you what, you take 10% of somebody's salary now that's gone because of the buying power is gone. So you're earning $30,000 a year. You take 10%. You just lost $3,000 a year, and now you're going to give them a $467 increase and expect that to compensate for wages? The answer is no. You're fooling yourselves. The inflation rate has a tremendous impact on the buying power of what people earn. The fuel prices are not going to go down. You know, the natural gas, propane, the food, I mean, just everything's gone up. And if what I'm seeing is true, then the 5.56 is just the beginning in November, and probably by May or June or July, it should get around about 10 to 12%, they're saying. So I'm just saying that, but the middle of next year, from a budget standpoint, suddenly you can't buy what you thought you were going to budget with the money that you got, because you done lost it in inflation. The prices increase. We don't control prices, you know what I'm saying? But we're going to have to suffer from it. So the policies and things that are happening now in the world, especially in this country, versus what's going to happen here in 6 months, the budgets and the things that we've got, even if they come close to this 10 or 12%, right, we're going to be in deep doo-doo, in my opinion.
So
the answer, you want an answer, I'll give you the answer. The answer is simple. You've got to go for quality rather than quantity. I'm talking about employees. I'm still going to stick with that. If you've got 15 employees down, you need to drop it down, like Nick was saying, 10, 15, 20%, and then pay them, you got the money now to pay them. You can pay them more money because you're not paying for the other 3 or 4 people. The point is, you're going to have to go for quality rather than quantity and get this load that we've got off of the county's back, or otherwise you're never going to be able to make it, especially if it goes to 10, 12%. It'll just doom us.
thank you.
I'm done.
Jeff?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeff Marks, Morgan Township. So as I've been listening this evening, a couple things have come across my mind. One is, first of all, our first responders and all classes of first responders are really important in this county. I fully believe that. I think on the board believes that. Nobody disagrees, right? So everybody agrees with that. But as I spoke last time, this public service income tax that we just enacted is going to become a source of additional requests for funding, okay? And you heard in Kathleen's proposal that it would be okay for 5 or 6 years, and then we'd go into the public service income tax fund. And so I guess I would say I applaud the council for taking a little bit of a breather on this, and the reason for that is because we could be in a position, it's gonna be a big balancing act for you guys, it really is. Because we could be in a position, we call 911, and we don't have anybody to drive the ambulance. All right? And, because Chris Lunsford indicated in one of these public meetings that he was having trouble recruiting EMTs at $12.79 an hour, okay? Okay, so, you guys are gonna have to figure out how to balance the need for public safety, the real need to be able to pay these people the right level, and still work within the budget. So, you know, if, for example, in the 911 case, if that could all have been funded in perpetuity from within the 911 fund, that would have been a different conversation. But it already projects, 5 or 6 years, but it already projects that it's gonna need to get money out of the public service income tax. So unfortunately, they're all interrelated.
And you're exactly right, and one thing that was mentioned earlier is you've got, let's say, you gotta be able to support your employees because of the growth of inflation, but when you support your employees because of the growth, then the amount of money you thought you had budgeted shrinks. And so it's a very, very careful act. Other members of the public? Terry, you got anything?
These two gentlemen here, for me.
So I want to welcome Nicole back. You guys know that Nicole covered us for an awful long time, and I hear that you're going to be covering us again, which is something that's very needed. As you know, it's like the coverage, you understand what it's been, and I know you're out there trying to tell the public what's really going on here, and we appreciate that.
Is that for our local paper here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
All right.
I mean, I'm not against you, but we don't have no paper here.
Yeah, well.
We've not been represented for years. So if you're helping, I'm glad that.
Yeah, she's done a wonderful job in the past, and I hope you can change that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Madam Auditor.
Okay, you got the 1782 email notice earlier. Depending on what comes back, we might have to call an emergency meeting or as quick as possible, because we only have 10 days to comply.
So, quick question on that, because that's a very good point. You know, a couple years ago, we got hooked into this final hour, final day thing. Jeff commented about this a couple meetings back. And we had zero time to do anything because of the meeting date we had and when we were notified of the error that the auditor's office had made. So the question is do we want, not knowing exactly when that 1782 will be released to us, do we want to pre-advertise some dates in December? I mean, knowing that a couple of them may not even be used, but to go ahead and have something down on the books, because if we do get the 1782, and we want to maximize the amount of time we have to review that we can have the meeting and do it?
I think we need to have a couple of dates. I mean,
we have our normal meeting date, but what if?
It's challenging meeting that Wednesday paper deadline.
Right.
That's the, you know.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
And the email that came to all of you today, it says that they're gonna start distributing these in November, so we could have ours. You know, so we wanna keep the 29th meeting because you also made a motion to advertise these additional appropriations to be heard on the 29th.
Boy, I'll tell you what, you just lie in the and watch.
If not, then they have to go to the December meeting, that's all.
Which are these? Are those brand new?
No, this is Donna's 60,000.
Well, that was for the
Chris's-
December meeting anyway, that wasn't for November
Because I had
29th.
said that if I got them to the paper by 10 tomorrow, they could be on your 29th meeting. But
Right, but I don't think we're advertised now.
Yeah.
So,
We're
so this is
okay.
under the regular December
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah, there wasn't any intent to do that the 29th
Okay.
anyway, so. But what I'm saying is let's say the 1782 comes in, our normal meeting in December is the 13th. So let's say that 1782 comes in on Monday, the 6th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't have that much time.
Well, your first 5 days, you're probably gonna lose in order to make this.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you wouldn't even be
World.
able to advertise if you wanted to make, would it be for cut to advertise them? So I don't know how you would,
We really got, I'll tell you what.
It's kind of a tough spot to be in.
This whole thing is a mess. I don't think people understand what this does.
Again, if we got notice tomorrow, or say we get notice on Wednesday, then I would have to email them and they say, okay, here's your notice, this is your numbers, you have 10 days to change, fix, adjust. It would be the following Wednesday before I get it in the paper, so you've already lost 5 of your 10 days, and that only gives you 5 days left to, you'd have to walk into that meeting being prepared with what you wanted your numbers to be to say, this is a motion and this is what we're gonna do. And you're not gonna be able to call a public hearing. I mean, it's just gonna have to be an emergency meeting.
Between the paper and the ordinances in place though, what options do we really have?
Don't, I mean,
now, they do make the cuts automatically, if you don't respond.
right.
So a default would be, they tell you what it's gonna be,
And it's
you don't
gonna
do
be
anything
that.
or respond anyway, and then it is what it is. But if there is anything we do wanna do, or any other action, and you
Right.
wanna be able to do that, that's the part here that you're in the predicament on. And so do you know, how important is that to the council? I don't know.
Well, I don't. There's not a good option on the table, so we're just gonna have to go with it. You just gotta call us quick.
Or we can go ahead and pre-schedule meetings for maybe the last.
And then cancel them if need be.
If we don't need them, I don't know, but, am I worried about the numbers or the budget themselves are being cut? It's more the levies and
Well,
the
how about
rates.
we do this? I'll make a motion. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we give the auditor the discretion to advertise however needed based on when that comes in.
Okay.
And she might call the DLGF tomorrow and they have a suggestion or something and that might be helpful, or maybe it winds up not being a big deal, but the motion would be to give her the discretion to advertise as needed for the 1782.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Any further discussion? If you can tactically pick those dates and square it away, looking at, based on what you're seeing, with their correspondence with you, then, I think that's gonna be very important. Anything else, council? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? 6-0. And that was Anton and me seconding it.
In light of inflation, in light of all these things that have transpired, and our crisis financially, this is probably one of the hardest years that I've had in all the years sitting on the council. And we've seen some pretty tough times, and I'm back some years ago. It's a dog if you do, dog if you don't. And yet I know everybody needs a raise, because how do you compensate for a 5.7 or 11% increase in the cost? I mean, and here we are with minimal money if we really have anything to work with. Because Jim says we shouldn't be spending a dime before the end of this year to even be able to balance out. So.
The other thing, we're fresh off a tax increase. It's, we gotta do this right. Okay, is there any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, I just wanted to thank the council, I mean, we're kind of stuck in quagmire. We'll work it out.
So a lot of good debate and input tonight, and I appreciate all you.
Just heard Amy second. Who made the motion?
I said I'll entertain a motion. I thought, I heard a second, I thought there was a first. Would somebody make a first?
You only need a first.
All right, good, we're good.
Okay.
Okay. That's the one, I would give it your chance.